What's up, Buttercups? Welcome to Mean Age Daydream here on the Lions of Liberty Network with me, your host, Brian McWilliams. There's a lot to talk about in regards to this whole situation with ICE in Minnesota. We obviously need to chat a bit about Dave Smith, the scion of libertarian commentary as far as mainstream pickup and backlash is concerned, and we will certainly get into that today, in addition to talking about whether or not this whole ICE protest is in fact a color revolution. Also, just some thoughts I had about the state of entertainment, of investment from the Saudis, and whether or not there's a silver lining, maybe a make good in regards to some of the influence they're exerting over popular culture and gaming, in entertainment, in programming, etc. But before we get into all that, guys, don't forget Woke Word Wars, great new game that I have designed along with two buddies of mine. It is awesome. It is hilarious. It is a unique new playing style. Enables you to project the progressive lunacy, to combat it, and to have a great time playing it. I highly recommend it. It's on Amazon. The link to the game is in the show notes. If you do buy one, please write a 5-star review and a little write-up there for us. It really helps. And also, don't forget, review our show. Go on Spotify, go on Apple, go on whatever you're using. Give us a nice write-up there. Please hit that subscribe button. We are, of course, still shadow banned to all hell on YouTube. So make sure you don't miss anything. Okay, let's get into it. First and foremost, Dave Smith, who is a friend of mine, longtime friend of our show. We go way back. So I will say I'm a bit biased in my viewing of the conversations that are going throughout the interwebs, throughout the pod sphere, about Dave Smith, who has taken a position in criticizing ICE and the enforcement measures that are being undertaken by ICE, by federal agents, trying to combat the wave of illegal immigrants, and whether or not this is overboard. And especially this is coming in the context of the recent shooting of Alex Pretti, who are Pretti? I don't know. I don't care. It's funny because I read and I don't really watch cable news. I don't really hear a lot of people actually saying his name. Let's call him Pretti because it's, the whole pretty good meme. But this guy, Alex, he goes to a protest in Minneapolis. He is armed, right? That is a fact. Excuse me, God. Still getting us a little cold. So he's armed. He gets shot by federal agents, and he is armed with a Sig Sauer. Now, the Sig Sauer model, it has been documented, is in fact prone to firing and misfiring by accident without somebody actually pulling the trigger. So this is the gun that he comes to the protest with, which I believe you should be able to do. I don't think you shouldn't be able to bring a gun, and it's insane that Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, is out there publicly stating that you should not bring a firearm to a protest. Well, no, you actually should be able to bring one. With this, we have the Second Amendment in this country. Shall not be infringed, exists for a reason. And honestly, when you look at all the violence going down at these protests, why would you not arm yourself? Whether or not you are on the side of the protesters or on the side of ICE, you should be armed. I mean, the fact that you've got insane leftists that are now operating as their own version of the Gestapo, harassing people that are just at the protest watching or driving around the protests and pulling them over, circling their car, intimidating them and screaming, "Prove you're not ICE." Well, you know what? No matter which side of the equation I'm on, and this is, by the way, to innocent bystanders and people that are actually for the protesting side, they're getting harassed by these leftist, insane liberals who will get to whether or not this is by design, as I said, a color revolution. But I certainly want to be armed. If I'm going to go to a protest on either side, I want a firearm. Absolutely. And for the FBI director to say, well, you can't bring a gun to this. No, you're absolutely in the wrong. You need to be able to protect yourself. And frankly, you should be able to bring a gun anywhere you damn well please. And that's my professional opinion on the fact. The question, and this is something that was raised in truth, which is kind of interesting to me. I'm talking this through with a very liberal family member of mine. And this liberal family member went, well, why are you bringing a gun and kind of, you're inviting this on yourself? Now, there is an aspect of that to this conversation, right? There's a lot of nuance to all of these conversations that seem to be lost in the midst of people taking a completely black and white viewpoint based on their politics, based on their narrative, based on the people around them, based on the echo chamber they exist in, which is ignoring the nuance that exists in all of these things. The nuance between federal agents coming in, the enforcement measures on illegal immigration, the role of ICE, the role of protesters in amplifying these interactions, and whether or not you should be taking this highly aggressive, antagonistic posture towards people, looking to get a reaction. And frankly, I think that there's a lot of that's been going on through the cycle of this entire thing, where you're seeing videos of women, women in Minneapolis that are taking training courses on how to be better antagonizers. They're literally in there. They're like, "Oh, here you go. You go up and you yell in their faces." You're like, okay, I talked about this before in a previous show. If you're going to these protests with the intent to antagonize, with the intent to get somebody angry enough to take a physical action, and that's your goal, well, that does fall under the auspices of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Like, if you're going in with that intent, rather than having a protest to voice your opposition to something like that, you are in fact inviting danger upon yourself. And when danger comes for you, you shouldn't be surprised. And none of us should act that outraged when these things do happen. That being said, you also can have some outrage when you see a man who had not, as far as I can tell, had not drawn a weapon on police, I don't know, on these federal agents. And what seems to have happened, and nobody knows this for sure, all these people commenting, all these people, again, nuance people, please know what you don't know. All of these people that are taking this absolute black and white side of things don't know what really happened. We're going from video, and even the video is not conclusive to say, okay, did a officer go to disarm the man? And this seems to be the narrative that is most trustworthy as of right now that I can tell. An officer goes to disarm this guy who comes and is harassing these ICE agents with a firearm. He goes to disarm them because this guy's getting up in their faces with this camera. And you are allowed to videotape, by the way. You are legally allowed to do that. I don't care what anybody says. You're allowed to videotape cops. No matter how many times they try to outlaw it, I'm sorry, you're allowed to do it. With the Supreme Court rule on this. So you have a cop say, okay, this guy's getting up in here. We're gonna arrest him. He's getting too close. He's being too aggressive. We're going to disarm him. This firearm, known for an issue with discharging before you pull the trigger. This has happened when the military had been using these firearms, and I think has now ceased doing it because of this problem. The firearm discharges automatically or by its own volition. The cops then think we're being shot at, and they kill this guy. Now, as a logical man, I try not to jump to conclusions and instantly say these ICE agents should be fired, they should be arrested, demonize them, because I understand the human instinct in this situation. When you hear a fire going off, firearm shot, and it's not one of the people that's directly next to you, you instantly go, okay, well, this guy's shooting at us, and you shoot them in. I get it. That does not mean there should not be consequences for those actions. It doesn't mean you can't talk about it and you can't say this has gone too far. You should be able to object to this, a strong use of force and what is a wrongful killing of someone who was, yes, being aggressive, but not being violent. This man was not threatening your life, and you took his life. All of these things fall into contextual, environments where you say, we can see how this unfolded. So let's take a step back and calmly diagnose it. But nobody seems to want to be calm anymore. Nobody seems to want to take a step back. Instantly, you're expected to have a very strong opinion on these things instantaneously, and you feel you have to impress your friends and your neighbors and your social media followers, instead of saying, hold the fuck on, take a breath, and let's figure out what happened here. Now, what seems to be unfolding in this entire situation is, as I mentioned, Dave Smith goes out there and says, you know what? I have a problem with the way this is going down. I think this man was wrongly killed. It pisses me off. You should be able to take a fireman there and not have your, instantaneously have your life removed from you. And he's now being attacked by all of these right-wing hypocrites out there. People like Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire. People like Nick Fuentes, which, by the way, probably the best thing, considering the fact that Dave Smith had Nick Fuentes on and got criticized for having him on by the left. And now Nick Fuentes is attacking Dave. maybe that's going to warm some things up for old Davey. But you've got these people now that are coming out. Tim Pool also, and we'll talk about Tim Pool, who said one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my entire life. You've got Matt Walsh roasting Dave Smith, and you got people posting memes comparing Dave Smith to a blue-haired, nose ring wearing liberal because he dared to take the side of pushing back against an overreaching federal force. Meanwhile, Dave Smith is not an open borders, open illegal immigration guy. He's been very outspoken about that fact, talking about how, yes, there is a problem with illegal immigration. And I side with him on this. I also think there's a massive problem with illegal immigration. I think that there are an inordinate amount of parasites that simply exist in this country to leech the wealth away from people that are paying taxes. We've got the entire Somali scandal. You've got welfare fraud scandals. You've got all of these things piled upon another, where you've got federal spending going through the roof. You've got state spending going through the roof. You've got taxation going through the roof. People can barely buy groceries. They can barely pay their mortgage. And you've got illegal immigrants getting free college, free healthcare, free housing, free cell phones, free food. I mean, you name it, and these people are getting handouts. You've got millions of dollars being paid for fraud. So you're allowed to be upset about it and say there's a problem with immigration and something has to be done. It's funny because I find myself working with the Libertarian Party. The party is saying, abolish ICE. The thing is, I'm for saying, if people want to say abolish ICE, good. You want to abolish federal forces, fine. The problem is that we don't have the freedom as a society. As a libertarian society, you would have the freedom to ostracize, to extradite these people out of your society, to say you do not combine your interests with our interests. You don't abide by our cultural norms, our standards, our way of operating. You're taking advantage of the system. You're bringing everybody down and you're contributing almost nothing here. You have to leave. There's the famous Hans Hermann Hoppe illustration, which gets mocked sometimes, but where they say, you know what, you should be able to take people up and drop them from a helicopter. Now, look, that's a little extreme. But in a society, no matter what society it might be, you would want to have the ability to remove somebody from that society that is becoming a burden or a threat to your society. And as we've seen, a lot of the people that are being removed are, in fact, child molesters and criminals and murderers and rapists. These are the people I should be going after. There should be a prioritizing. And by the way, this Alex Pretti, they were removing a actual child predator when this man was shot. So let's also, again, put this into the context of things. You can say you're against illegal immigration in its form and in the form our country has right now with the welfare state, and something needs to be done, while simultaneously criticizing the way in which it is being enacted. These fucking hypocrites on the right, the Fuenteses, the Walshes, the Tim Pools, who are coming at Dave Smith and calling him a hyper-liberal and trying to essentially cancel him, could not be more blatant in how idiotic their viewpoints are, how petty they are, and how much they, in fact, have in common with the liberals they claim to hate. Because the Matt Walshes of the world will endlessly mock the left for eating their own, right? How many times do you hear Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh and all these people laugh about the left going after their own? You don't use the proper pronoun, and now the left is going to cancel you. Excuse me. Now the left is going to cancel you. They're going to cancel you because you don't adopt the transing of children in the way that they wish. So they'll turn the attack dogs on you. We laugh. I love it. I laugh my ass off when it happens, because for me, that's what needs to happen for people on the left. And in truth, in a way, for people on the right to now wake up and understand, too, this phenomenon, because the boiling frog scenario happens otherwise. So, same thing with cancel culture. I called for this from the get-go. You need to have people cancel where they go, this is insane. All I did was disagree with you on one thing, and you're trying to kick me out of the club? This is horseshit. But yet, Matt Walsh is doing the exact same thing, because Dave will not simply hold up the rally flag for ICE and say that whatever they're doing is clearly worthwhile. It's the classic leftist argument of, well, any means to an end. You throw the baby out with the bathwater because they have an end goal in mind. That goal being transitional change, or ending the patriarchy, or ending racism, when all it does is make it worse, right? Every aspect of the left platform, a DEI or any racism or whatever it might be, ending the patriarchy, endless rights for gays and trans people. All of this has backfired. All of this has had blowback. You're now seeing statistically a lowering in approval rates and in the support for gay rights among young men. This isn't happening organically. This isn't just men waking up and going, you know what? Fuck the gays today. No, this is because they've been told they're the demons of society. They've had their rights superseded by the rights of the left and the gays and the trans. They're reacting to a cultural phenomenon. They're reacting to real world stimuli. Similarly, Matt Walsh and Tim Pool and other people that don't seem to understand this concept, when you have ICE rolling into cities, when you have people being shot in the back of the head that did not pull a weapon out, but happen to be carrying one, a right which every American should have, and you should be defending that right, you're going to have people go, this is crazy. This has gone too far. So now your goal of reining in immigration, of cracking down on the people that are parasitically taking from society, that are abusing our laws and taking advantage of refugee status or temporary protected status or whatever it might be. You're just sneaking in here and being, ushered into citizenship by the left to get votes, whatever it might be. You are now hampering your argument. You are making people completely oppose the actions being taken by the government because your rallying cry behind this is that ICE can do no wrong when you're watching videos of them doing wrong. And when somebody dares to provide a more nuanced argument about that and to call out what seems to be on its face a killing of a man who did nothing, you can't simply say, this guy's got to be ostracized. This guy's got to be demonized. Anybody that dares to think or act or speak out against this is going to get the same treatment. I mean, you will post all the memes about the left acting like Stalin, and then act like Stalin. How does this not resonate with these people? How do these people, which seem to be intelligent on their face, have so little understanding of what actually comes with this? And like I said, this is the biggest hypocrisy as well, because when you look at something like an argument like Kash Patel and defending Kash Patel, and Tim Pool has, by the way, gone out there defending this Kash Patel concept that you can't bring a gun to a protest and that you shouldn't be able to carry your gun anywhere. And that the Second Amendment doesn't mean that you're unfringed and unhindered in your ability to carry and bear arms. And that the founding fathers didn't really mean that everybody should have a gun to defend against tyranny, which, by the way, Tim Pool said those exact words. That the founding fathers did not mean for the Second Amendment to be used to defend against a tyrannical government, its own government. But it was really to defend against foreign governments. It was the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. And that's not the end of it, by the way. There's something even dumber that we'll talk about regarding boots. But when you have these people that will talk endlessly about the slippery slope, right? When it comes to, certain Christian conservatives, the slippery slope was gay marriage. And then it became, whatever, you name it, you got it. And I've talked about the slippery slope. The slippery slope is very real. We see it enacted in our world looking around us. You see the slippery slope of COVID and the authoritarianism that happened there with the slippery slope of, 10 days to slow the spread turns into 3 years of authoritarian terrorism by our own government. Locked in your houses, denied the ability to do business, denied the ability to travel, forced inoculations, the inability to go to funerals, the inability to watch your children be born, the inoculation of children that led to myocarditis and pericarditis, and now is proven fact. That's the slippery slope. And you were loudly talking about it for all these months and all these years. Oh, the slippery slope, guys, be careful. And now what we have is a slippery slope where you're saying we shouldn't be able to carry guns, where you're saying you shouldn't be able to criticize a federal agency that has overreached, that has taken violent actions. That's a slipperier slope, fellas, when you're arguing for the same authoritarianism that you condemned last year. How does this not get through to you? But they'll go out there and loudly cheer for it. As I mentioned, Tim Pool, beanied Tim Pool, goes out there, and I'm not making this up. verbatim said, I voted for the boot. I am the boot. It's not the government's boot on your neck. It's my boot. This is literally what Tim Pool was saying in regards to people who are trying to say you can fight back and should fight back against government overreach or ICE or federal agents. The man is advocating for the boot and not understanding the boot's on his own face. When you advocate for the booting of people, do you not realize that boot can quickly be turned the other way? In what world do you not see that government policy that's setting a standard that accepts abuse by a government agency will be turned upon you? Look at the Patriot Act. Look at the spying apparatus in this country. Look at the TSA, for fuck's sake. How stupid do you have to be? Where you don't understand that when you advocate for government power, when you advocate for the population to give up one of its core rights, that will be used against you. It may not be today, Tim, because you voted for this. You voted for ICE to go and be able to have this power. Good for you. When you're not in power, when it's not for something that you advocate on, they're going to use that same force, Tim. That's how the game works. And to pretend that somehow you're on the side of righteousness, and yeah, this is democracy, and ain't it great? You're just a fucking idiot. There's no way around it. You're just an idiot. So good job, Dave, fighting back against this. You know, shameful reactions by these scions of the hypocrite right who've decided that he is now public enemy number one. And it really, I did a whole show last week, and the show was about no matter how dumb the idea is, the left will double down on it. You're seeing that exact mirror right now with this situation. You're seeing the right do the exact same thing. No matter how bad things will get in regards to ICE, no matter how bad things optically will look for them from a public relations perspective, how damaging it is to what they actually want, they will double down on it. No matter how, again, it doesn't matter the outcome, because they will just say 15 more people can get shot that are, have done nothing. And yes, people will argue, well, he did do something. He's getting their face. And I acknowledge that he got in their faces. Doesn't mean he should have been shot 15 times on the ground. I'm sorry, it doesn't. They're doing the exact same thing. They will tell you they're the more logical, reasonable, rational side. And, oh, God, we're really thinking this thing's through. Critical thinking. No, there's no critical thinking here. There is picking a side and sticking to that side and refusing to back up no matter what evidence is presented to you. And it's shameful. It's embarrassing. All right. So that's one thing. Let's talk about these protesters, because look, there is an issue with these protesters. There is as I said, there is an antagonism that they're being trained to do. And there was an interesting post from a guy named, Eric Schwalm, who, if he is to be believed by his Twitter profile, is a former Special Forces warrant officer with multiple rotations running counterinsurgency ops. So he tweeted out that from his perspective, what this all looks like is a color revolution, a counterinsurgency that is a very sophisticated operation. And I believe that, because when you look at the money that's being funded here, when you look at all the dark ops that are going through, the dark money through these NGO webs, like the Soros webs that are weaved, you do have a pattern of a very well coordinated, very highly motivated population that is being funded. These protesters, we know a lot of them are not organic. We know that the same people get bused to different locations. We know that there's operations to bail them out of jail. They're right back there protesting the next day. We know that they have the same tactics. We know that they're coordinated as far as communications, targeting. And this is what this guy's saying. You've got the spotters. You've got certain amount, caps on how many people are there. You've got an avoidance of a specific kinetic response, aka the violent response we saw with Pretti. When you have the mapping of license plates and people that are specifically writing down license plates, when you've got the doxing operations going on here, you got intimidation operations going on, you've got coordinated times and places where people are going. This is not organic. This is, in fact, a sophisticated operation. And yes, I would consider it an insurgency. Were I the government, and honestly, from where I'm sitting, the question is, what do you do about it? Antifa, I was all for, and I still am for Antifa being labeled a terrorist organization because I view them as a terrorist organization. All of their actions, as far as violence against people, public property, federal property, you name it, have all the earmarks and all the outcomes of a terrorist organization. I believe they should be treated as such. I do believe that the federal government should look into, like, if I were running a government, my local libertarian government, insofar as that goes, I hate it when people go, well, libertarians are against all government. No, fuckheads. No, we're not. We're for the smallest possible governments. And those are coordinated by voluntary interactions between individuals. So if I've got my voluntary interactions between my individuals and we go, look, we got to look into this. This is a problem. We're getting armed people coming in here that are being trained to attack us in various ways. We need to figure out what to do here and how to fight back against it. Because I've talked to this before, the overarching impetus of a lot of these NGOs, these dark money organizations, is to undermine cultural coherence in our society. They want things to fall apart. They want people to be angry. They want people to question and to rally and to riot and do all these things. They want to suck the wealth out of the people that have it, the makers and the doers, in order to reset society and control it. If that's what's going on, then yeah, you need to take actions against it. It's just that those actions are not conducive to the outcome you want, aka putting this down is not playing into their hands by reacting in the way that you see the ICE officers react. Now, like I said, that was, I think, a Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events, per my opinion. But why are these people out there doing this to this extent? Why are they being trained to antagonize to such a large extent? Why are they being told to show up in this manner, to, as I said, to antagonize up to the point where you're right on the cusp of a physical confrontation? A lot of them are looking for it. The woman who got shot in their car was obviously looking for it. This guy, Alex Pretti, I would say, was looking for it, as are many of these people out there. There was a one woman I saw, she's actively kicking and punching, this stupid liberal white woman kicking and punching a guy, and then he gets blasted with a water cannon, or her elbow gets bent backwards. The chick whose hand got blown off because she goes to pick up a flashbang grenade and throw it back. That's not normal behavior. It's not. These are the actions of people that are trained to do this. So yes, look into it. Yes, there is some sort of color revolution that is being planned and funded and coordinated behind the scenes here. And as individuals in this country, we should be very concerned about that. Because I'll tell you what, one of the biggest problems I have too when it comes to the mass immigration, I've talked about this with other nations and other cultures. When you have mass immigration like this and people undermining your way of life and liberty, which, I'm sorry, we have a very special set of circumstances here in America that's been fostered. And that is freedom of the individual, freedom of expression, freedom to bear arms, freedom to create and live your life, and best put forward a protection of yourself, your family, whether that's economically, whether that's physically. That is what this country was built on. And it is being eroded as much as possible by numerous forces, including those within government. So yes, you should object when you have mass amounts of people plopped into your country who do not believe in what you are believing in, they don't believe in freedom and liberty, that want to make you subservient, that want to have socialism, that want to leech all this money away for welfare programs and various other bullshit, which goes counter to what you have as your best interest. There is a reason the freedom of the individual is paramount, and everything these people are fighting for is against the freedom of the individual. They may unite and say, we're fighting against tyranny and fascism, but they're not. They're not. What they're fighting for is more fascism and more tyranny. So yeah, it's good to stand up against it. The question is, what are the tactics you're going to deploy to use it? And how do you best avoid the backlash that you're going to see against the actions of something like ICE? How do you make this more palatable? How do you make this more something that the public can get behind and say, this is being done in the way that we can comprehend, that we can get in favor of, to protect what we believe in? And right now, that doesn't seem to be happening. Okay. One more topic I want to get into, which is pretty funny. So you're seeing shows like Starfleet Academy. Now, Starfleet Academy came out. It's a terrible show. I've talked about it before. It is getting panned by the public, even though it's a critical darling, right? Because all the idiots in media just love it. The people that are, by the way, not Star Trek fans. They're just fans of diversity and DEI and fight the patriarchy. So they love anything stupid full of multicolored people with ding-dongs that are the same type that like to touch each other, right? That's what they're all for, and for having female-led everything, right? Girl bossing all the way around. And that's what Starfleet Academy is. It's going to be an epic failure. It already is an epic failure. Their live stream of the first episode got under 1,500 followers or views, which is unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. And what's interesting is that there's already a rumor going out there that the Saudis, who are big investors in Skydance Paramount, now, as is, by the way, and apparently these Saudis were brought in conjunction with one of Trump's underling family members. It might be Jared Kushner. I think it is Jared Kushner. So the Saudis are big investors in Skydance Paramount, which of course is trying to buy up Warner Brothers, but they are big, content creators. Star Trek is under their purview. And apparently the Saudis are weighing in and saying, we're not renewing this crap. In fact, we're stepping in and we're trying to end a lot of this woke ass bullshit. It might be the fact that, Paramount canceled The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, which was garbage, woke leftist garbage, right? It was woke leftist garbage propaganda. The Saudis may have had a role in canceling that show. Now, of course, that was a massive money loser, held by an obnoxious personage who was rooting for tyranny during COVID. But you also have the rumor going around that the Saudis are stepping in and saying, we're not renewing Starfleet Academy. Even though the left, they want to do it, but they view Alex Kurtzman, who is the guy that has pushed forward all of this woke bullshit Star Trek crap, including the Lower Decks, including Star Trek, I don't know, some other, the last one, I can't remember what it was. I watched one episode. It was so bad, I just turned it off. But the one with the singing Klingons, and now they've got a gay dress wearing Klingon. But they're stepping in and saying, no, we're not doing this woke crap anymore. Now, they also did this with Electronic Arts, which is one of the biggest video game manufacturers or producers. Electronic Arts owns all sorts of studios from wall to wall, but stepping in and saying, we're not making any more woke crap video games either. Now, there is a practical application to this, which is maybe the Saudis are just not willing to throw billions of dollars in the garbage, making woke nonsense that nobody wants to watch. After seeing so many failed video games across the board, losing, it must have been $3 billion over the last 2 years alone in failed woke video games. Maybe they're just saying we're protecting our investment. We can wield the money to protect this. Now, I had said previously, the issue with that is that you have the Saudis who are, a fundamentalist, theocracy, basically, in the guise of a monarchy, but their practical application of law is very much in a religious mindset. It's not quite, Islam, but is close. They still don't have gay marriage there. They still are very much, women are still very subservient there. They're still very against a lot of what we would term liberal values here in the United States. And that can become a problem because when it comes to making games that say criticize terrorist acts, and we know the Saudis were behind 9/11. Let's not forget that, right? Even though we went to war with Afghanistan, the Saudis were really behind it. And I just joked, hey, maybe the Saudis are making good. Maybe they're like, you know what, guys? 9/11 was our bad. That was a whoopsie. That was a misstep. We're trying to bond our countries together here. Let's let bygones be bygones. We're going to do you a solid. We're going to step in here and we're going to knock all this woke bullshit out of your entertainment sphere. Maybe when Trump went over there and grabbed the golden orb, the glowing orb of the Saudi prince, maybe that's what the agreement was. That, hey, he goes over there, he goes, look, you guys are going to invest in America, we'll invest in you, but you got to take out all this woke crap. I want you to buy into Paramount, talk to my boy Jared Kushner over here, He's going to bring you in. I want you to knock all this woke crap out because as president, I can only do so much. I can end the DEI, in the schools. I can defund things, but I can't control these private industries. So Saudi Arabia, do us a solid. End the woke. I mean, I never thought I'd be cheering on foreign investment as much as I am, but if the end result of the Saudis investing so much in Paramount and Electronic Arts is that we get a final cessation of this woke, dripping and drip drop, more like a waterfall, this woke waterfall of hot garbage that the culture has already rejected, flat out rejected it. People are over this garbage. We don't want any more. That's why we made woke word wars, right? Reject. It's upside down. Reject this crap. Maybe that is one way they can start to make atonement for their actions on 9/11. I know that's tongue in cheek, Jellen. Don't email me. Don't tweet at me all pissed off. How do you? Okay, get over yourself. You can joke about it. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. If you like what we do here, you can subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/Lions of Liberty or lionsofliberty.locals.com. Don't forget, subscribe to the main feed. You get all of our shows here Monday through Thursday, and then politics every other Friday. Politics also has its own feed. All of our shows have their own feeds, too. So if you hate one host, you can listen to the other ones. That's it, guys. Thanks a lot. Bye, Woke Word Wars. From me, Brian McWilliams, from the Lions of Liberty Network, and from Mean Age Daydream. Keep those electric eyes on me, babe, and keep that ray gun pew, pew, to my head. I will talk to you during politics.